Should I tell my Fresh Prince
Yes,
story?
you
Is
can
that
tell
the
your
right one? Okay. When I was head of casting at NBC, there was a young rap star named Will Smith that we were excited about, and there was a show that Quincy Jones and his partner and Will came up with called The Fresh Prince of Belair, and he was the Fresh Prince. That was what his name was as a rap star. And he was going to be in town for like 2 hours between flights because he was touring. And I sent a limo to the airport with my associate, who could be an acting coach as well as a casting director. And we had a scene from an old show, and this acting coach worked with Will in the car, drove him up to Quincy Jones' house in Bel Air, which was an amazing house. The whole experience was totally surreal to me to walk into Quincy Jones's house on a Wednesday night, and I was telling everybody before it was his birthday, so all over the house was baskets of wine and cheese and crackers and everything. Literally, there must have been 50 of those. Happy birthday, Quincy. And we went to his basement where he had a whole playroom with all the gold records on the walls and everything like that. And then Will came in, and I read with him. And my boss, Warren Littlefield, said, all right, let's do it. And that was how the Fresh Prince started, and how Will Smith's acting career really started. And it's funny because he's been interviewed, and he'll say, I never auditioned for Fresh Prince. Like, yes, you did. You forgot. And just kind of want to put a plug. My former boss, Warren Littlefield at NBC, who was a great guy, has a book out right now called Top of the Rock, the must-see TV of NBC. And it's the Thursday night lineup with all the comedies going into ER. And you can get it at the library. You don't have to buy it. And there's an audio version as well. It's just so much fun to see how those shows came together and how the casting process came together, and how shows like Will and Grace and Frasier, ER, Friends, Mad About You, how all those shows came together in the same era. So it's really good reading as an actor to see what happened with all of those shows.
Great, that's a great story. I think I've had a few things that I am really proud of that have like touched my life, and what I love so much about my job is being able to help people obtain their dream. And so being able to say to someone that you have the role, it's a wonderful thing to say. But I think when I think about Derek Luke and the Antoine Fisher story, that I cast, which was Denzel's directorial debut, and looking for the person, and knowing Antoine personally too, and then looking for that person who would play that role. And Derek, when he came in, and being just so true and real, and not that experienced, but just had all that raw goodness. And there's a role that is written for you. I think that role was written for him. And then later on, being able to, be a part of telling him he had the role. And then later on, learning that while he was upstairs with Denzel and I, and he read like 3 or 4 times, while he was out upstairs each time, his wife and a friend, they were downstairs in the car praying in the spirit each time, and obviously that worked. So that, and I could go on and on. Jamie Foxx, seeing him for the first time on stage, telling one really good joke, and the others weren't so funny. And with the Jerry curl, a gap in his teeth, and his name was Eric Bishop. And but what I knew, it was interesting because he did this whole thing where he would end up in a song, but he started with Hamlet, and he would give the whole soliloquy. And I said, this guy can act. And as it turned out, he was really classically trained as an actor. Learned that later. But, being able to introduce him later on to Keenan when I was casting In Living Color, and, him joining that cast was a special moment, too.
Lastly, I want to ask, Does knowing who you are, and Lori kind of touched on it, does knowing who you are as a person contribute to your it factor?
Yeah, definitely. That's just who you are and what your core center is, and it's just as an actor and as a human being, know who you are, know what your strengths are, and know what you believe in, and I think it's all when you. The thing with acting is just being able to take who you are and be this other person, but you have to come back to who you are. And the big stars and successful actors, you see that. I was at a screening of Antoine Fisher, and Derek Luke spoke, and he said he was working at the Warner Brothers store when you guys came and told him.
Yeah, it was actually it was the
Oh,
the
it was the
Sony.
Sony?
That's right.
Sony, yeah.
He was working in the gift shop.
Yeah.
And it was Antoine Fisher used to be the guard at that same lot too.
Yeah. And he said that, here he was taking cash for records or whatever he was doing there. And yeah. And I remember that. It stuck in my mind. And we're talking, what, 12 years ago or something like that? Yeah. And there's wonderful stories of a lot of actors. Tom Hanks's wonderful stories, how he talks about he got a Screen Actors Guild card on Bosom Buddies.
Yes, that's right.
And thinking back, everybody started at the beginning. The only guys who maybe skip a few steps is, like Rob Reiner, because his father was Carl Reiner, or there's a few like that. But most everybody starts at the bottom and starts with auditioning and working in a store to support themselves.
I have a little sidebar I just want to share. Do I have a moment to do that? So with regard to the Antoine Fisher story, and Denzel and I have known each other a really long time, and when that script had actually been given to me by my lawyer at the time, who was also Antoine's lawyer. So it was years before it actually got into any kind of the green light scenario. And Denzel was brought on, and Todd Black, who was the producer, and Todd had a relationship with another casting director. And Denzel and I had spoken prior to that, and he had said that he wanted me to cast the movie. So fast forward, they get the green light, the movie goes to another casting director. And for about a week and a half, another casting director was working on that film. But I kept saying, that's my movie. And I remember this phone call came right as I was leaving for lunch. And it was Denzel's office. And I said to my assistant, oh, is he calling me about my movie? And as it turns out, something happened with the other casting director who was no longer able to do it. And he called to see if I was available. I had my deal done in 20 minutes. But the point being is that I really believed it was my movie, and I never stopped saying that, no matter how it looked, even when it was in somebody else's hands. So just whatever you believe in, continue to believe it and say it.